Hello, listeners. Hi, my name is Madhavi, and I'm so happy to have you on UppTalk. You have come to the right place if you want to learn about IT and do really cool things with your hands. We are not just another IT company when I say UppTalk. Think of us as your learning partner dedicated to helping you reach your full potential. We have top notch hands on courses to help you build your business, whether you are new to technology or want to move up in your current job. Let's look around this as our first step towards learning.
Now I am just going to be deep diving into any business object related report, and I am going to be teaching you one very important concept called as related business objects, because this is very important for you to understand reportings and also related instances. I didn't want to get into that in the previous sessions because I introduced you single and multi-instance. And then I thought I will go into reporting introductions, and then I will come back over here what is called as related business objects. Now let me just introduce what exactly is a foreign key. And whatever you see in a foreign key is exactly what a related business object is going to be. Alright? Now, as you all know, worker is a business object which is going to contain all the worker relevant information and fields which is already available over here. Alright. Now let me pick a specific field from here which is position, and this position field in my worker business object is going to contain details about the worker's position information. Are you guys with me? What this particular position field in my worker is going to contain is the position information of my worker. Are you guys with me there? Clear on this? What exactly is meant by this position field? Are you with me? Any questions here? See, in this particular business object called as worker, the purpose of this position field is it is going to link or it is going to contain the worker's primary position in my organization. The purpose of this particular field in my worker business object, or in a very simple terminology in the worker table, the position column or position field is going to contain the worker's primary position in the organization. Alright, it is going to contain the position details. Now what if I want to view the positions information? Remember, in one of the reports, I think it was Nishan's report, we saw that once I click on the position, it navigated across to my position details. It navigated to my position details, which means let me just run this report definition and I will show you that this particular position, this is the worker's position information. But if I want to view the position level information, it will navigate me to the position master information maintained in the position table for this particular business object, which is position business object. All of this information about the position, it could be location, it could be position, anything. But this information is not maintained in the worker master data, but it is maintained in the position master data. And what is the linkage between a worker master data and the position master data is this particular field. This particular field is the primary linkage between my worker master data and my position master data, which means this is the common field between my worker information and my position master information. I'm going to have one person linked to that specific position, and this data is maintained in my worker information. And the position master data is also going to contain all the position level master information. Clear on this? And this particular field, we call it as a foreign key or a foreign key relationship, which is common in any database terminology. Even in Workday terminologies, we call it as a linked or a related field. We call this field as a related field over here. Clear on this related field is the terminology that we use in Workday. Related field between two different business objects are put in over here, worker business object. I'm just picking this position. And now, when I go to my related business objects, we have two sections over here. Let's just first look only at links to related business object. And if I'm going to pick something like position over here, I hit position, which is going to be the position business object. Alright, we know that worker is a business object and we have position as another business object. And the number of links indicates the number of common fields between my worker business object and my position business object. And if I click on this 33, it is going to give all the fields which are common between my worker business object and my position business object. And the number of links is going to give all the fields which are common between my worker business object and my position business object, which are the common fields which are available. Which are the common fields that are available is listed over here. And the most important thing that I might choose is always going to be the worker's primary position. Guys, are you with me? You understand what it is actually. What exactly do you mean by a linked field or a related business object and how to get this information? View business object report or business object details report. Or there is another way also which I have taught you, which is go to question mark. And then in your prefix find out what is the business object. The prefix is going to be BO. Alright, what I would rather go is BO colon worker. Simple here. Alright, I just put it like BO underscore worker and I'm going to get my worker business object and as much as possible start using prefixes. Start using prefixes as much as possible that you're going to save a lot of time. It's just like a shortcut for you and you don't traverse through much of stuff, much of task, painstaking stuff. It's easy for you to navigate directly to the business object. It's just going to be very, very simple. Alright, clear on this and clear on what exactly link to a business object is going to be. Clear on that, right? Any questions? Any other questions? If I can just move on to the next one. Links from. Now we saw from worker business object. What is the linkage to my position business object? Alright, if you want, I'll open another one for you to understand that as well. Let me open location that will have one more example. I have position and I'm also having location business object from my worker. I have 33 linkages to my position. The primary one is going to be the position ID. And then for my location, I'm going to have 42 linkages. A primary linkage is going to be my location ID of the primary location or the primary position's location. Similarly, from my work or business object, I can link to many other business objects. And this is what that linkage is going to give me. And now, what could be the links from related business objects? What could be that? What could be that we saw from worker to location or position? Whatever is the linkage, what exactly could be the reverse of that? What could be like links from related business object? What could be the definition for that? Alright, see here. Now from my position, what exactly could be the linkage from my position to my worker business object? I have a position open. I'm just opening a sample random position right now. In that particular position, I could have some linkage which is there to my incumbent persons as well. Who's the incumbent person who's working in that position? If I have created such a linkage, then it will be there. Otherwise, it is going to be zero, like what you see over here. When you tried this particular contingent worker report between a contingent worker report and my worker report, the linkage that is possible is only a manager or the manager for that particular contingent worker because that manager is also a single instance field. And again, that manager could also be another worker in my organization. That is why you have that particular linkage. In your report, you can only display information specific to my manager. If you have chosen your primary business object as contingent worker, all right. Say, if I want to link my contingent worker to my worker business object in my report, the only link field is going to be manager because manager himself is going to be part of another worker business object. And I'm going to be getting details about that particular manager worker data. That's what happens over there. What exactly is happening in my links to related business object and links from related business object? Clear on this? Any other questions? And now, if I want, I can actually say the reverse as well. Say I'm going across the position business object, and in my position business object, I may see many different field names. The position ID, the job, information relevant to that particular position business object. And next, I can also see all the related fields of that particular business object. See over here in the position business object. I see many different fields over here which are native to the business object position. And I can also go to my related business object. And if I want some, say I have chosen position as my primary business object for my report. And now I want to get some value from my work curve. Then I need to come to this particular business object position and I need to find the linkage between my position business object and my worker business object. And let me show you that. See here. The links from a position business object to a worker business object, we have 51 links. All right. That is how this actually works, including the worker's position, incumbent information manager information. All that is going to be available over here. Same way for managers and others as well. Clear on this? And you may ask me a question here. You are seeing 51, but over here you see 0. There is a small crux to it. When we see LRVs, this will be made clearer. When we see LRVs, that is called as lookup related values, this particular information will be made a little bit more clearer for you. For now, just hold your horses. Alright, clear on this? Because currently there is no field which is actually linking between in perspective of a worker business object, but from a position business object. In the position data, it has links which have already been established. That's how it works. We'll get to that when we go into ELRVs. We'll understand that better over there. Alright, clear on this? Can we move on to the next most important topic, which is into reportings? And once you are clear on all the business objects, reporting is going to be more of a piece of cake for you. Because this is the most important thing that you need to understand. What exactly I mean by business object, the related business object, and the data sources which I can possibly use to create my report. All right. Lookup related value, that is a type of a field which we have, a calculated field which we can possibly create. We've seen about arithmetic calculations and everything. We also have a field type called as RV, which is called as lookup related value. I've not gone into that because I want to hold it up till I do a little bit of reporting. And then I will jump into that tomorrow because I want to understand a little bit of crux of all the reportings before we get into that because it's a little bit of an advanced topic. Once you get a hang of the related business object, then we'll move into that LRV concept because LRV is typically, once you understand this particular structure, how do you pick from a worker business object? How do you pick the position level information? In a nutshell, that is what it is. From a worker business object, how will you get the details of my position? Business objects relevant information. How do you actually get that particular stuff? Just like, joining in your relate, in your RBMS terminology, what you do by joining. And once you join in a joint, outer join, or whatever joins you do, based on that, you're going to pick some field level information. That's what are we? That is lookup return value, related value. All right. All right. Let's move on to what we have in the reporting. Possibly for today and tomorrow, we are going to be seeing reports. And this is the agenda. We are going to be seeing simple reports, standard custom reports. And we are not going to be seeing scheduling part because scheduling is a little bit advanced topics. I will only teach you the basics of scheduling. I'm not going to deep dive into scheduling and alerts. We will skip alerts for now because that is again another advanced concept in reporting where you will schedule some alerts and you will hit some notifications and everything else. I don't want to deep dive into alerts for now. For now, I don't want to get into alerts. We'll be completely skipping that particular topic. Whereas scheduling reports, we'll be looking at a grazing level. We'll be only grazing through that. We'll not be doing deep dive into reports because we may not be able to test that particular functionality over here in scheduling reports. That's why I'm just going to be only grazing, and I will teach you the concepts as well because it's very, very important and used very widely in a real world business scenario. All right. And now, first and foremost, like I said, reports are kind of in any training sessions that have been part of FAR. And reports are always a breeze, I would say, because compared to all the other modules or other objects that we have seen, reporting is always enjoyable. And if you do like reporting, can definitely take up Workday reporting as your career as well. There are many advanced concepts in reporting as well. What we are seeing is only the foundation. On top of this, we have something called as prism reporting, where you're going to do all the data cubes and kind of analytics stuff. And much of stuff is available as well. If you do have interest in reporting, or if you do have some prior knowledge of reporting tools, MIS tools like Tableau or Power BI or other stuff, and you do have probably an interest in reporting. Definitely, you can explore a lot in reporting and you can do much of stuff in reporting and you can take it up as a career in Workday itself because that's a good career actually because it's not going to involve a lot of functional configuration and everything. You're going to be scheduling and maintaining several reports. That is a career opportunity that is also there on the Workday side of things. That's another tidbit for you as well, right? First up, what exactly a report is basically in Workday is just like what you see in Excel or any of the other HRT relevant tools. It's just you're going to be displaying and pulling down some information and presenting it to the business in a meaningful format that you can have some business actions taken based on this. That is the whole point of building reports. That is the number one purpose. And again, it is going to actually be used not only within the Workday system, but if I want to generate some data and send this particular report information to a third party vendor as well, definitely I can use it as well. Say, for example, I may actually have a report built to send across payroll relevant information to my third party payroll vendor, which could be like Ceridian A, D, P, or any of the other pay-click or other payroll vendors which are available in the market. I can build a report and send it across to my third party vendors as well, which is going to be useful for them to process your payroll or any other information as well. That is the whole host of purposes of having my payroll tables. And the most important thing that you may have to notice what is the information that I'm pulling from my report. Does it have all the values and meaningful values which are necessary to make a valuable business decision? Number one. Number two, in any reporting standards, you need to ensure that you give information only that is required to the people who are required to see and nothing more. What I mean by that is you are supposed to give information only that the particular person has asked for. And you should also be careful enough not to expose any of the personal information of an employee to an unnecessary user. If that makes sense to you, because by reporting you can have access to a whole host of information, including the employee's personal information, like your SSN or your other relevant information, your driving license or your SNN or other information. You need to ensure that while building a report, you have proper checks and balances in place that not everybody is going to be viewing this report. And at the same time, people see only what they are authorized to see and nothing beyond that. Clear on this? Are we clear on the agenda and what exactly we are going to be doing the report and the two major things that you need to note in a report? All right. The next thing that we are going to see is in Workday, we have two types of reports. One is called as a standard report. Standard reports are Workday delivered reports, which means as a part of your Workday package that you are going to purchase. Workday does deliver certain standard reports which you can use across the board for your various purposes. These are already available in your vanilla version. This is not something which you are going to build as a custom report. These are just standard reports which are already available in my system and I need not build any new reports at all. Right. For example, we saw business object details. If you see this is a report, why I am just picking this example is this is just a report which we just saw right now. This is a report definition by itself, and this is after all. This is nothing but a delivered Workday standard report. And all of these that you see over here translate business process definitions, all business process definitions for business objects. All of these are report definitions only. They are they are all report definitions only. And in the future, if you want to actually copy them, you can do that as well, which means this particular business object details report for my report definition. If I have the access to view this here, I think because it's a training tenant, I do not have the access to view it. Let me pick something different over here. Let me pick all employees report. Let me see if I have a standard employee employment history reporting overviews. All right, this is a custom report over here. Let me pick all employees. We had a report specifically called as all employees report. This employee, this would be good. All active employees. Let me just pick this all active employees report. All right. If you see this particular report, this is again a custom report. People have created a lot of custom reports over here. I've been trying to pick a standard report overview. I was trying to pick a standard report, but how many reports have already been created? Just takes a lot of time for us to do it. It's just a standard report, but it seems to be quite complex. Let me just pick something like Carol Lee over here. This is just a sample example. Standard report over here, which is already available because we have certain reports which is called as standard reports for employees, all of that which is in Delhi. I'm not able to pick one over here. I will just pick something like a lovely standard reports in and see. All right, let me pick the standard report for worker data. Let me pick find workers. I don't want to get into that because it's going to take some time for me to find that. If you see this particular report, just forget the layout and everything, because layout and everything that you can definitely look at this find workers is something which we have already seen in the first session. If I want to find some worker, I will be using this particular find workers standard report definition. And this is a common report which is available for everybody. I was looking at some other report like an employee, all employees, or something like a report. Let's just ignore that. Move on to this. We have a report which is a standard report called Find Workers. Basically, if I want to find a worker, I would rather use this particular report over here, which is available. And I can have some search criteria and everything. And from time to time, Workday provides updates for this particular report. And this is our delivered report, which means I need not make any changes over here in this particular report. And it is already available to all the workers and the securities that I already have built in my system, which means it's available to every employee. Unless and otherwise, I'm going to make some changes in my security structure. If I want to hide this to certain people, like contingent workers should not be able to see this particular report, I can possibly make some changes over here. That is number one. And number two, the most important thing about a standard report is I can copy this particular standard report as a custom report of mine and make relevant changes over there. Which means I'm going to be copying a standard report and I'm going to create a new custom report as a clone of my standard report, which is called as Find Workers. It doesn't mean that my previous report definition is going to get deleted. That standard report is going to be available in the original purpose that it was available for. On top of that, I'm going to be creating another report as a clone of my Find Reports standard report. See, I put this array and find workers. I'm just going to be creating, and it's going to be a clone of my report which I have already created. On the other hand, it's going to retain all the fields, the search criteria, and everything else that I already have. First up, the data source is going to be workers for HCM reporting. It's going to contain all the workers with a single latest row per worker, be it a regular active worker or a terminated worker, who's going to get the last row as on my term date. It's contain all the information and then further filtering. I filter only my active workers in this particular report, Find Workers report. It's a standard report and it is going to contain only my active workers in the organization. Next, if I move on to all the fields that I have over here, I have like worker support, location, job profile. And if there is a photo, I can have a photo. And for example, let me just try to add also my managerial information over here, which means I'm going to also add the manager information. I'm not choosing this particular field because this is going to be a text field, whereas I want this particular manager ID to be available as a single instance field. I'm going to be picking another field over here, which is this manager. All right, let me see if this is going to containing the immediate managers. Let me pick manager level 1. This is from the worker business object, the L1 manager. I'm going to be picking this particular person as my L1 manager. What I've done is I've picked the Find Workers report. I've copied that standard report to a custom report and I've renamed it as RD Entry Find Workers. Probably you can do that today as well as an activity for you. And in my search fields of the columns, in my report, I'm adding another field which is called as Level 1 Manager. That is number one option that I'm going to do. And if you see over here, I have a column here called as Options. If I go and click on this particular option, what are the different options that I can have for my field based on the field type? I can have many different values over here. Either I can have it as a detailed results. I do not want this field to even show up if it is empty, which means for all the 10 or 20 workers that I'm going to be viewing. If this is empty, it does not have a value. Then I would rather not show the entire column itself. Next, I want this to be as the primary results field, which is like a driver for my report. If I do not want to have it, I would just simply uncheck this. And if I want to have this only as related task only, if I want this to display only the related tasks to this particular manager, I would just have it simply as an option. And again, this is going to vary from field to field. Over here for this worker, I've chosen this as the primary results field because I'm going to have my search criteria built based on my primary results field. That's why I've chosen worker. Since it is a Find Workers report, I put the primary results fields on my worker. And yesterday, we saw a little about fields filters over here. And if I want to filter or if I want to add a new filter criteria over here, I can go ahead and add a filter over here. Yesterday, we saw about something like a hire date. I can have other fields over here as well. Apart from hire date, I can have dozens of other fields, be it my date of birth location. Today, let us just pick a location, country. I want to filter this based on my location, address, country, which is going to be either. Let me see whether this is going to pick the worker's location. Worker's location address. Let me pick only those people who are based out of USA. I'm just going to be building my field just like how I do it in my condition. I'm going to give the field as location country. I'm going to say in and in my comparison value, I'm going to say America. I'm going to pick only those workers who are based out of USA. Likewise, I can build for anything. I can have my location as APAC or any of the location hierarchies that have already built anything and everything that I want to put it. Or if I want to filter it based on my organization, like a company cost center hierarchy, anything and everything that I want to do, I can use it over here in filters. Any questions on search results and filters before we move on to the next prompt? Now over here, just keep a tab on this. What I will do is I will run this report and then I will come to prompt. What does the error that I'm picking? Saying that the result is showing that my photo should be the last field in my report because of the size and other relevant constraints. In any layout of my report, if I'm going to pick the photo as the last column, it is always advisable. That is the reason why it was just prompting me an error. I've moved the photo. I use these particular arrows over here, up and down arrows, to move my photo to the last column. I hit. Now, what I would rather do is I will run this report and then I will show you the prompt options which are available. I'm not going to. Right? Now this particular workers have already created some reason. This is not saving. My workers report has been created. I don't know why this is not edited. I added that particular manager information. Let me go on edit it right now. I'm just adding a new field called as. I'm putting a manager L1. I'm putting it as my penalty meet. Let me just put the photo back. I've accidentally deleted it. I will just bring this photo to the bottom. And I'm going to save this report right now. Why is this not allowing me to shave? I got. Let me remove all these facet filter options. I got all these things we have. No wonder it was just not allowing me to save actually these facet filters. And let me just give me a minute and just try to save it again and see what happens. I'll leave that because this is taking long for me to correct it. I just need to correct it a little later actually. Just don't waste everybody's time because of this. Just go across to my report and then I'll show you what exactly a prompting and everything is. This is a report which I created yesterday. Let me just go across to the report, run options over here. If I go across to my run report options, I see something like worker types, employee type, and contingent worker type. These are effectively the fields that we call as prompt fields in my reporting definition. All those fields which are listed over here, worker types, employee type, and contingent worker types, are what are called as my prompting fields or prompt fields in my report structure. And where do you see? It is in the prompt tab. In my prompt tab, I'll be able to see all of the report, all the fields that I have over here. I go across to edit of my reports. I do not have a prompt field. It's a simple report I created. Let me copy this report and put it as an advanced report, and then I'll just come across to that. I want to change this as well. This is going to be crazy. Just coming back to this particular, because I'm not able to make changes to that report, I'm just trying to clear the error over here. I have like 7 fields which I believe I do not have the access over here to make some changes in that. Let's see. I'm just trying to clear them out to fix the errors. Before Let me just clear this in a minute. alright? Over here, if you see, I was just talking about prompt fields. Basically, what prompt fields are is when I run my report, what are the fields that it is going to prompt me for a value over here. Now, if you see, we have three prompts over here. One is employee type, contingent worker type, and worker type. This is the nothing but defined workers standard report, which I cloned. And in any report, the prompt fields are nothing but all those fields which are going to be available when I'm going to be running a report. What are the prompt values that I see over there on the screen? That is what is called as prompt fields. And I can edit them at any point of time and find out what are the prompt values that I want. And I can also customize it as per my own requirements. And if I want to say that I do not want them to prompt for a value every time, I can also make changes to this. Just like see, if you see over here, in this particular prompt, I have employee type and in my default type. If I want to default it to a certain value, something like for an employee type, if I want to default it to only regular, I can default it. If I want to have some default value assigned to it, I can do it. And again, I have another option over here, which is going to say, do not prompt at runtime. And now let me just play around with this and then show you. What I did over here was I ran this particular report, REN find workers, but it did not give me any prompt values because in my prompt option I had set the prompt option as do not prompt at runtime for all the three fields which are available. Now I'm going to uncheck this and then I'll show you what exactly happens. It just seems to be quite slow today. Let's see over here. I'm just going to remove the prompt do not prompt at runtime option for my employee type. And let's see what happens. For the previously I had do not prompt at runtime for all the three fields which are available. Now I'm going to have it removed just for the employee type. And then I come back to my report and let me run it once and show you what exactly it will do. See over here, if I'm going to have a prompt value, I can prompt the user to provide some prompt value. And again, this is not mandatory at the moment. If I want to also make it as mandatory, I can make it as mandatory. Otherwise, I'm going to simply ignore this and I can bypass from providing any relevant value for my employee type. For my employee type, it is not mandatory for me to provide a value. If I want to ignore it, I can as well ignore it and run my report, and it is not going to impact any of my reporting results. It's going to return all the same rows as well. And again, that can also be controlled in my prompting options. Clear on what exactly a prompt does, what exactly we can do with a prompt. And if I want to make it as required, I can make it as required over here as well. This particular field, if I'm going to check it, that particular prompt field is going to become required, which means that there should definitely be a value which is going to be provided for my prompt. All right. For any user. Now you have just had this particular find workers report. I want this find workers report to be narrowed down based on my own supervisory organization only and giving an additional option for the user to run based on certain search or find or filter criteria. All right. I want to filter down based on my workers' information. Then I can filter down that particular irrelevant information as well. Clear on that. And I can do a whole host of filtering as well. For example, this particular find workers report. In my prompt, I can add a supervisory organization over here. Let me show you that. Say, my requirement is in my find workers report. I should only be able to view all the workers in my own supervisory organization. I should not view any workers who's outside of my supervisory organization. It is effectively my team's kind of a report. What I will do over here is I will just put over here as supervisory organization. I understand there's some kind of an issue over here. Let me do a little differently over here, because if I'm going to put a supervisory organization over here, I need to bring it in my columns and my search results over here as well. Let me go across to the I missed that particular field. If I want to build a field over here, since this is actually a search type of a report, I'm not able to put this particular supervisory organization in my prompt values. That is effectively what is happening over here. And I need to make some more changes over here in order for me to get those values over here. That's why I didn't have it over here. We'll build an advanced report tomorrow, and that time I will show you actually more filtering options that you have over here. Next thing, what we have is the Output tab in my Output tab. If I want to add some help text over here, help text is nothing but what exactly this report data is going to contain. It says over here that interactive report contains workers in a supervisory organization. And if you want to do some filtering, you can do some filtering based on predefined criteria over here. The next thing we have over here is called as sharing. Like I said, this particular report. If I want this particular report to be run by certain users, then I can give that particular option over here as share. By default, this is usually shared with all users. But now, if you want to check it, you can go and type rd:/ran find workers. You will not get this particular report because here I've chosen the option over here as don't share report definition. You will not be able to get it. If you want, you can even show, go and check it in your report, and you will not be able to actually make changes, or you'll not be able to view the report definition. All right. And if I want to say I want to share this with authorized users, this will be sharing it with all the authorized users who have access to my business object called as worker and my data source. Everybody who's authorized, I can do it. Otherwise, the third option which I have is if I want this report to be shared with a specific set of users or authorized security groups by security groups. You know very well what that means. It's like if I want to share this with somebody like an HR admin or a partner or something like a business user, I can share with anybody who's here or in my users. Say, for example, I can put all the relevant users over here. Now let me just pick Logan McNeil. I'm going to share this with Logan McNeil. And I'm also going to be sharing this with Joy Banks. I'm sharing this report with Joy Banks. If you are going to be having your user ID as Carol Lee, you will be able to see it. But since I have not shared this report across, if you proxy in as Logan McNeil or as Joy Banks previously, you will not be able to see this report. Now I'm just sharing this report with Joy Banks and Logan McNeil, which means only these people will have access to this particular report. Clear on this? The same security that we had over there as well applies here because I may not have my reporting information shared with irrelevant users. Something like an employee should not be able to view another peer's compensation or job or other relevant performance related information. Only certain people should have access to view the information. That's what I was just saying at the first. Reporting is basically only viewing the information that you're authorized to and nothing over and above that. That's the main purpose of a report. And that is where this comes in. The next option that we have over here is called as optimization. I go to the advanced tab and I say optimizations. Optimization is if I want to optimize my report and ensure that the data is picked in an easier and faster manner. We have optimization, and how this does is based on indexing. In RDBMS, and the folks who know about RDBMS, we have a concept called as indexing. That indexing is essentially built on my primary keys, which means I have a book, a relevant book. And in any book, be it a telephone directory or my own storybook or whatever novel book that I'm going to be seeing, I may have an index of contents which is going to effectively contain which page is going to contain which information. Similarly, in my database, for every worker, I'm going to say this particular worker information is going to be available in this particular data block. That when a database processing effectively happens, it need not necessarily go through all the records, skim through them, and then find out the relevant one. It is easier to find in the index, and the index is usually updated from time to time. The same database concept applies here as well. If I'm going to be choosing an index data source, which we'll be seeing next, I can use this optimized for performance. Effectively, it is going to be used in any reports which is going to be data intensive. That is the option that we have over here called as optimized for performance and rest of them. Just ignore these options for now. And this one over here, we call it as temporary report. Since this is a training tenant, all the reports by default will have only a 1 week period, which means it is going to be automatically deleted after a period of 1 week, since it's a training tenant over here. That's a default option that is chosen. After a period of 1 week, all the reports that you have created are going to be automatically deleted. That's what we call it as a temporary report. All right. The next thing, call it as facet filters. I'll only give you a high level brief on this. Facet filters are all those that you see on the left hand side over here. All those fields that you see on the left hand side, we have around 40 of them. If I want to filter this down further, I use what is called as facet filters. Any field that I've given over here, rating current field of study, all those fields, age, gender, location, all of these 45 fields are going to be available over here. And again, I can choose an option over here called as sort fields alphabetically, which is what is done over here. Active and inactive long-term relocation areas is chosen next first, then inactive age group base segment. All of those facet filter fields are provided here on the left side. This is just another way of filtering my 12774 records in a faster and an easier manner. And I can add any facet filter as per my choice. Clear on this? Any question? What exactly a facet filter is? But it's a little bit advanced topic, and we use facet filters only more on the search type of reports and not on a normal report. That is one. And mass actions. Don't take or don't be much head into mass actions, because this is something which we have just got it right now. I don't want to confuse you too much with this for now. Just ignore that. And today activity. What I would rather suggest is go to the Find Workers report. Try to create your own version of this particular report and play around with all the different fields and the tabs that are available over there. And then let's see how it goes about. And tomorrow we'll go into the other types of reports as well. Please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel. For more information, contact us sales@therightuptalk.com.